Well, good evening. Good evening and welcome. Welcome to this podcast on politics matters JA. We're going to be going on TikTok on at 7 o'clock. But I thought that I would jump on here to deal with the matter of a unconfirmed reports that the opposition leader is to be challenged um, by Mr. Crawford in September or next year. I have a report here from Nationwide. Listen to it.
Lost the wholeness JLP in the general election held on
Okay.
the PNP's lost the wholeness JLP in the general election held on September 3, 2025, had a discombobulating effect on many in the Mark Golding-led party. And over 10 months since the defeat, equilibrium continues to elude those who were certain Mark G would lead the orange takeover of Jamaica House. Our sources tell us that since Holness completed his trip last September, there has been a growing sentiment inside the PNP that Mark Golding missed his chance to lead the country and must make way for a new comrade leader. And it's on the back of that discontent that Damian Crawford has been quietly building a coalition that his supporters hope will design and execute a successful tilt at the PNP presidency come September next year. Our sources say Crawford, who in recent years has been cast by the PNP as the hype man in chief wherever a comrade needs a boost at a political meeting during election season, is ready to shed that image and relinquish that role. Crawford, we are told, can count on the support of at least 12 of the 28 MPs on the opposition benches. We've been told that his growing support has spooked the Golding camp. And that's what we've been told contributed to the decision by Central Westmoreland MP Dwayne Vaz to remove himself from the slate of deputy opposition spokespersons. Vaz is a key ally of Damian Crawford. The PNP issued a terse statement last week saying Dwayne Vaz relinquished his duties as deputy spokesman on roads and works to focus on constituency responsibilities. But it's understood that Vaz expected to be promoted to the job of spokesman on roads and works following the resignation of Richard Azan. Azan had come under fire inside the PNP for failing to highlight what the PNP views as the shortcomings of Portfolio Minister Robert Morgan. Vaz is understood to have been told by Golding that he would not be promoted and that his time was best spent focusing on his constituency. That, we understand, was what prompted Dwayne Vaz to walk away.
Well, you hear that? Um, it appears as if Mr. Golding is going to be facing a challenge for the leadership of the People's National Party. You know, Max Weber was a distinguished philosopher, and Weber says that holding authority don't mean that you possess legitimacy. You can have authority, but you don't have any legitimacy. It appears to me that Mr. Golding possess authority, but no have no legitimacy. Oh, Golding. Because a leader can retain formal powers, but lose the confidence that gives those powers political force. That's what happened to Mr. Siaga, and also to Dr. Peter Phillips. The leader retained the formal power, the power of the office, but the confidence that gives power, the force, the political force, you don't have that. Because a leadership challenge does not automatically mean that Golding lacks legitimacy, but it suggests that there are some within the party that believe his authority is no longer beyond question. And if I were advising Mr. Golding, I would tell Mr. Golding, walk away. I don't think Mr. Golding will accept my advice, but once you see people start to question your authority in politics, you're done, you know. You see what happened to Keir Starmer? No matter how you try to hold on to it, happened to Mr. Siaga too. The important distinction is this. The first is authority. Authority comes from the party rules. Legitimacy comes from sustained confidence. So there is a difference between authority and legitimacy. The authority comes from the rules. The legitimacy comes from the confidence. And clearly, Mr. Golding is not legitimate. He's not a legitimate leader of the opposition. It is fascinating. The very existence of a challenger signals that someone believes the two have begun to diverge. Fascinating stuff. You know, I'm hearing that Miss Nikisha Burchell was put out there to bat. To bat for Golding. I want to tell you, you see, that opposition parties exist to become governments. In the Westminster system, oppositions are judged less by ideological purity than by whether they appear capable of governing. Oppositions don't need to be ideological, you know. Governments have to put policies in place. Those policies are judged. Oppositions can relax, you know. It is the perception that are they capable of governing. And one of the challenges facing the PNP is that they are less seen as, especially within the geopolitical environment of the world today, less capable of governing the country. This is where the internal challenge becomes consequential, because voters ask, if a party cannot settle questions of leadership internally, can it provide stable national leadership? And look who is challenging Mr. Golding. Damian Crawford. Oh, no, I don't underestimate Damian, but there are problems there. That does not mean that leadership contests are inherently damaging, because that can also demonstrate democratic vitality. But prolonged or bitter contests can create an impression of instability, particularly if they become public feuds. Will Golding go? What is happening in the PNP? Is Mr. Mark Golding on his way out? Because a leadership challenge is often a referendum on strategy. A leadership challenge is often a referendum on strategy. Challenges are rarely only about the leader as an individual. They usually reflect disagreement over questions such as, is the party connecting with voters? Is its message effective? Is Parliament being used well? Is the party offering a compelling alternative government? Is enough progress being made towards winning the next election? And if MPs begin questioning leadership, they are often expressing dissatisfaction with the answers to these broader strategic questions. It appears to me that Golden is losing legitimacy. But there's a paradox. The opposition leaders face a unique philosophical dilemma, because governments are judged by results. Opposition are judged by credibility. Governments are judged by results. Oppositions are judged by credibility. That means perception often matters as much as policy. For the government, it is policy. For the opposition, it's perception. A leadership challenge may therefore indicate that some MPs believe that the party has not established sufficient credibility. The fact that Golden is to be challenged, as it's been reported by Nationwide, the MPs in the parliament are saying the party is not credible. And you know, political parties must balance two democratic values. They must balance internal accountability, and they must balance public unity. Because voters generally reward parties that appear disciplined and cohesive. These values naturally exist, but they exist in tension. But this challenge also says something about Mr. Golden, you know, because a leadership challenge would not necessarily prove that Golden has failed. It, however, suggests one or more of the following perceptions within the party. One, its electoral strategy. Secondly, dissatisfaction with parliamentary performance. Thirdly, anxiety over public polling or voter engagement. And of course, the belief that another leader could improve the party's electoral prospect. Can I put it to you quite plainly? The fear in the PNP is that a fourth term looms. The party don't want a fourth term. But can I tell the party something? Golden is not your problem. The problem is the PNP itself. It is not a viable opposition. It doesn't matter who you put there as leader. The party will have to change. Parties are coalitions, you know, rather than organizations existing on their own. Leadership or contest often exposes underlying tensions that already exist. And there's another philosophical tradition, you see. John Stuart Mills argued that institutions improve through contestation. And that is that ideas become stronger when they are tested. Leaders become stronger when they are challenged. You see what happened to Holness when he was challenged by Shaw. Because if Golden survives a serious challenge convincingly, he would emerge as with renewed legitimacy. But political insiders often focus on personality. Voters usually ask simple questions. Which party appears disciplined? Which party appears prepared? Which party appears focused on governing rather than itself? And so leadership contests becomes problematic when they suggest that internal power struggles have displaced national priorities. And at a time when Jamaica requires the opposition to be focused on the national project, they are focused on their own internal battles. That don't look good. A successful challenge presents some risk, but they also present some opportunities, because if Golden fails, the party is going to be divided. And definitely, there are going to be some alienating of supporters of Golden. If Golden fails, will he resign his seat as a member of parliament? Would Golden accept a position in Mr. Crawford's shadow cabinet? Everything will depend on how the transition is managed. But there are some opportunities to renewed energy, fresh messaging, organizational reset, increased media attention, all of that. Our time is running out. Ultimately, though, you see, the issue is not whether Mark Golden should or should not face a challenge. The deeper question is, what gives political leadership its legitimacy? What gives political leadership its legitimacy? Is legitimacy earned through party rules or through electoral success? And we need to have a tradition in Jamaica that when you lose an election, you move on. You move on. What gives political leadership legitimacy? Is legitimacy earned through party rules or through electoral success or through public confidence, through parliamentary performance, or through the ability to unify competing interests within the party? A leadership challenge forces a political organization to answer those questions publicly. And if the challenge is conducted respectfully, transparently, and according to the party rules, then it can reinforce democratic legitimacy. If it descends into fractionalism and personal rivalry, it risks signaling that the party is more consumed by internal competition than presenting itself as a credible alternative to the government. I think it is generally agreed that the opposition party, in its present form, does not present a credible alternative to Andrew Holness and his team. From a broader constitutional perspective, leadership contests are neither inherently signs of strengths nor weaknesses. Their significance lies in what prompted them and what follows. And so the question really is, why? Why is Golden being challenged? A challenge rooted in substantive disagreements about strategy and vision can renew a party. A challenge driven primarily by personal ambition or unresolved fractionalism can deepen divisions and weaken the public's confidence in the opposition. For any opposition seeking government, the decisive test is whether it emerges from the process more united, more coherent, and more convincing to the electorate than before. Based on how things are starting out, the PNP itself is not being very honest about what is happening. We hear from the PNP that Mr. Vaz resigned to focus on his constituency. And we are hearing from the news that not no go so. This is all about positioning in the party. So the divisions have started, and I suspect that the PNP will be weaker for this. Whether Golden wins or he goes, the real problem is that the PNP itself needs a rebirth. The leaders say they are a new breed. They may very well need a new lead to lead the new breed. But where are they going to be led to? And who do they plan to lead? Because this new Jamaica requires more than the PNP is offering at this time. Best wishes, Mark. Best wishes, Damian. As the Gleaner said on Sunday. Anyway, I'm going to turn. Makaka Jukuno. That's it for me. Jump over to TikTok. I'll be there in 5 minutes. I'm back here on YouTube.